My name is Bobby Jo O'Neill, and I am the Charleston County Coroner. And I wanted to provide some information and an update on a case that we've been working on for quite some time in order to try to identify an individual and the importance of forensic DNA. Back in October 25th of 2020, a right foot bearing a shoe was found off of Fort Sumter. The remains were taken into custody by our office Deputy Anita Hassert, who's standing here with me, and our forensic team started evaluating that foot to include Dr. Suzanne Abel, who is our forensic anthropologist, who's here to my right, in order to see if we could determine any information from that foot as to who this individual might be. Information such as maybe what age they are, what race they might be, how long this person might have been deceased, those kinds of information. We also did a lot of research and study into the shoe, which is a green and black on-cloud sneaker type shoe, and did as much research as we could about the shoe, where it's sold in the area, those sorts of things. During that investigative process, we sent a DNA sample to the University of North Texas, and that was on November 3rd of 2020, with the hopes of getting a DNA profile that could be uploaded into CODIS. And CODIS is the Combined DNA Index System, which is the FBI's criminal justice DNA database, with the hopes that they'd be able to make a match and to help us determine who this individual was. We also reached out to the public in December 8th of 2020, asking for help. Any missing persons in the area, anyone who is missing family that might be wearing this type of shoe. Then, on March 17th of this year, we found a left foot bearing the same shoe. And again, Deputy Hassert recovered that shoe. We had it evaluated by Dr. Abel, again, in order to try to identify who this unfortunate individual was. Knowing that there is a huge backlog in forensic DNA, Chief Deputy Coroner Brittany Martin researched ways that we could do some genetic DNA testing in order to try to figure out who this individual was. We know there's a very big backlog in DNA, and this was an avenue that we wanted to try, which we have not done here before in Charleston County. And we sent a sample on June 21st to Ortham Incorporated, which is located down in Texas. And Ortham was able to use forensic grade genome sequencing to obtain a genealogical profile. And they were able to take that profile and compare it to DNA databases where individuals had uploaded their DNA to try to get a comparison. And they had such a close comparison. They advised us that normally when they get comparisons, it can be a first or second cousin. And in this case, the comparison was so close that they believed they had a sibling. So Deputy Martin got the information from Ortham and contacted this individual who was believed to be the sibling. This individual did advise us that they had indeed done a consumer DNA test in January of 2019. They submitted it to a third-party site, and then they actually opted in to be able to have their DNA searched by outside agencies and law enforcement. They also advised us that they did have a biological sister who resided in Charleston and who had been missing. We know that she was last seen that we can determine in August of 2020. They advised that their loved one was originally from Mississippi and that she had moved here to be closer to some family that resided here who no longer lives in the Charleston area. Further investigation ensued, and although we are very saddened for this family, we are honored to be able to provide some answers to them so that they can process her disappearance and her death. And we are able to give her a name and a face. And so I do want to provide the identity of this individual. Her name is Janet Robinson. She's a 57-year-old African-American female. She is a daughter, she is a sister, and she is a mother. At this time, her death is still under investigation. We are hoping at some point that we might be able to find additional remains that we could determine a cause and manner of death. But at this point, we don't have any additional answers that we can provide them. I would like to share a statement from her family. I believe they are watching from Mississippi. It says, "Our family would like to thank the public for notifying authorities and submitting any leads that help this missing person case for our loved one, Janet Robinson. If there is any additional information to offer us to add any additional closure, please submit that information to law enforcement. And I first want to thank Janet's family. They have been patient, gracious, very understanding as we've worked through this process. I want to thank the public. They made us a lot of phone calls, some leads. Obviously those didn't come through, but we really appreciate when they reach out, when they have someone they're missing, that we can try to work through that. I want to thank my amazing team. This is really advanced level forensic science. This is very high level work. And I want to thank Othram Incorporated for this technology that they provided. They provided us a way to give Janet Robinson her name back, and we're going to be able to return her to her family, and that's really, really important. At this time, we do have other decedents who are unidentified here in Charleston County, and there are many, many across the country. We hope to continue to use this technology on some that we have currently here in our office, but I would really encourage any family members out there, if they have a missing person, a loved one that they're missing, that I would encourage that they might want to consider submitting a DNA profile. It may just help them find their loved one in the future. And should anyone have information regarding Janet Robertson, we know from the investigation we've done that we know she was last seen on August 3rd of 2020. If anyone should have information regarding her, when she may have last seen, any information about her subsequent death, if they would please call the Charleston County Coroner's Office. Our number is 843-746-4030, or the Charleston County Sheriff's Department. They are working closely with that. And again, I want to thank the Robinson family, and I'll be glad to answer any questions that you might have.
Okay, so just take me through, explain to me a little bit when you guys went and did the DNA profiling. How quick was the process in terms of getting results, and what do you feel like how this could help in future cases, whether it be missing persons or whether it be anything else that might come across your desk?
So traditionally we send a sample to University of North Texas or some other lab that can update into the CODIS system. We submitted that sample back in November, and we don't have those results back. So that gives you a sense of time on sort of the traditional method that we would submit DNA. In this case, we submitted this sample to Othram in June 21st, excuse me, and we had the results in 3 months. That's remarkable. That we are able to provide some answers like that in that time frame. Now, I would say, will that happen every time? Probably not. And this is the first time that we have used this type of technology. So obviously we're very encouraged and are planning to look at our cases and pick one that we think might have a good success rate, where the DNA is in good shape, it's not degraded, those kinds of things, and see if we can't have another success.
And then I don't know if this would be a question for you or someone else, but is there, I know you said that the investigation is still going underway, but is there any update on where in the process you guys are in the investigation about possibly finding what happened, or is there any diagnosis yet into what possibly had happened to Jen?
So we don't have any information about what happened to Ms. Robinson yet. I mean, I can tell you the feet, we don't believe they're injured in any way. So they have become separated by natural processes, so we believe that's natural breakdown of the body, so we don't have any injury to the feet that we're finding. We're working closely with the Sheriff's Department and the family based on information we know on where she's been, trying to search records, those types of things. But at this point, we're sort of stuck. We really need leads from the public who may know her, may have seen her, and maybe can give us some information about her whereabouts and when she was missing. Again, we know she was last seen on August 3rd of 2020. The first foot was found on October 25th. We're sort of estimating, based on the condition of the first foot that was found, that she had been deceased at least 4 weeks, possibly more. That's very hard to narrow down. That would be sort of our estimation at this point.
And then when you guys said you had found in your statement, you guys said you had found the second foot, correct?
That's correct.
Can you give a little more information? I know the other one was found on a beach near Fort Sumter. Where was this one found, and approximately when was that?
That was in March of this year, and it was found off of James Island.
And how much in contact have you been with the family? So I know she was last seen here. I know you're referencing Mississippi a lot.
Yeah.
Just kind of, if they're watching right now and they're, knowing this, I know you've probably been in contact with them.
Yeah.
what have you said to them? What have they said? Have they been, wanting to see this unfold and kind of with everything?
Our Chief Deputy Martin has had a lot of contact with the family, and I've had the opportunity to speak with them a couple of times. I think they're very saddened to learn that their loved one, their sister and their daughter and their mom is never coming home. But at the same time, there's comfort in at least knowing there's an answer. I think for a lot of families who are missing somebody, it's that waiting and that not knowing. And where are they and what if? And although we didn't bring the closure they probably are hoping for, at least they have some answers. And hopefully we'll be able to get more answers. I hope that there's someone in the public that knows her. Maybe someday we'll find some additional remains that maybe we can then answer the questions as to what happened. But at this point, what we're really honored to be able to do is to return her back to them.
You said Mrs. Robinson, she was last seen on August 3rd. What were the circumstances of that? Was she seen at work or,
We know that she had actually been seen in a local hospital.
Was she there for injuries, or do you know that circumstance of what local hospital or anything of that?
I'm going to keep that information part of the investigation at this point, but we know she was seen and she was discharged from the hospital.
Thank you.
If you could just clarify one more time, I know you said the feet were separated from natural causes, but does that rule out completely homicide or even like animals or anything, or does naturally just mean like natural breakdown?
So the feet that are coming apart from the body, that's a natural process and an actual breakdown process. That does not mean that her death could not be a homicide. It doesn't mean it couldn't be a suicide or an accident. And she may have died of natural causes. At this point, we don't have enough information to know how she died, which is why finding additional information from individuals who might have known her and seen her, and if we should find additional remains that we can answer those questions. At this point, I'm not able to say how she died, under what circumstances, or a manner of death at this point. Mm-hmm.
And I believe you said she lived in Charleston?
We know that at one point she lived in the Goose Creek area. I believe she was moved out of the Goose Creek area, came to the Charleston area. We are trying to locate specifically where she was living, but we believe she's in the Charleston area.
Could you just give me one more round of how old she was when she went missing?
She was 57. Mm-hmm. Any other questions? Great. Thank you so much. We are really honored to be able to give some closure to this family, and it's important information for others who are missing somebody. So thank you very much.